The maturity evaluation. How we measure ourselves. In the spring of 2010, every CMO at General Electric convened all his or her marketing teams, each has about 10, for what will become an annual self-evaluation. It measures performance in 8 major capability areas, each requiring specific skills with detailed definitions. For each capability, we offer a description of what success looks like and how we measure it. The level of granularity and precision, we have a total of 35 skills and 140 definitions, makes it impossible to fake your way through. The teams score their units 35 skills from 1 minimal to 4, recognized by industry peers as best in class, and review their assessments with business leaders to make sure they are realistic and relevant to unit goals. We then roll up the scores to the 8 capability areas. When the scores are aligned across the organization, the result is a summary map that clearly shows where we are falling short and where we have pockets of strength. A business might discover, for instance, that its marketers are good at pricing but the weakest in the company on branding and communications. The value of a common language, rigor, and process across a previously highly subjective function cannot be overstated. Aviation, for instance, can compare notes with healthcare. This is proving to be very engaging within and across business units. We now have hundreds of completed self-audits, giving CMOs and CEOs a benchmark against which to measure improvement. Capability areas: strategy and innovation, branding and communications, sales force effectiveness, new world skills, segmentation and targeting, value creation and pricing, commercial activation, market knowledge. Skills: identify external trends and influences, collect and manage knowledge and data, analyze markets, competitors, and customers, recommend strategic directions. Definitions: understand the policy and regulatory environment, including planned or potential laws and regulations affecting the market. Assess the economic environment and the impact of, for example, recessions and financial crises on the global market. Understand and adapt to social changes that give rise to new customer needs, technologies, and products. Adjust to other influences shaping the business, such as associates, customers, and partners. Despite the team's combined knowledge and capability, its impact and results were inconsistent. Why? When we looked specifically at marketing leaders whose skills had to be a priority if we were to make the function a true source of sustainable competitive advantage, we were all the more perplexed. The problem was that the traditional frameworks we had studied didn't provide enough guidance for identifying those skills. The frameworks do an excellent job of outlining marketing principles, but not of translating them into action. It became evident that critical behaviors were A. omitted from classical marketing training, and B. often underappreciated by General Electric's operating leaders, in large part because those behaviors were sometimes at odds with the behaviors of other functions. We would have to identify the requisite skills ourselves by studying the people on the team who were excelling. We learned that 4 fundamental roles are needed to transform marketing into a strategic function: instigator, innovator, integrator, and implementer. We call them marketers' DNA. Each role has become absolutely crucial at General Electric. The instigator. Marketing leaders need to think strategically and challenge the status quo, using their unique external vantage point to see what may not be apparent to others in the business. Sometimes this entails moving beyond preaching about marketing's merits to imagining scenarios that business heads might face, perhaps marketing's most important role. Leaders must be willing to push change. But the hard truth is that any affection for change agents dissolves when people don't like what's being proposed. Perhaps that explains why, according to several surveys, CMOs last only 23 months on average, just over half the tenure of other C-level positions. According to Jean-Michel Cossery, the vice president and CMO of General Electric Healthcare, his division had traditionally acted as a technology pusher. We had a tendency to develop products because we could do it and not because they were wanted in the market. He says, that approach was unsustainable after Congress enacted the Deficit Reduction Act of 2005, whipping $13 billion out of medical imaging reimbursements virtually overnight. General Electric Healthcare had to explore new markets and offerings. Cossery started an internal incubator fund that enlisted and sponsored a small skunk works to scan the entire business landscape, as opposed to thinking only about a product or a P&L silo, and come up with marketing ideas that were either known on the business leader's radar or considered elusive. For example, Cossery believed that the healthcare system existing in 2005 would not be able to meet the demands of an aging population that wanted to be independent and stay out of hospitals. In combination with a growing number of chronic care patients, this represented a potential $10 billion market with huge commercial opportunity. But General Electric didn't have an offering for that market. Cossery's team connected with scientists from General Electric's informatics lab, which had been experimenting with sensing technology to track human activity, for example, that of patients in their homes. They created a Home of the Future at General Electric's Research and Development Center in Niskayuna, New York. The team built algorithms tied to patients' movements and even conducted tests in the homes of researchers' elderly parents. Cossery's team ran into internal resistance because some viewed the project as too small for General Electric's target of hospitals and large physician practices. But ultimately, armed with research findings and product prototypes, marketing joined with product development to launch the QuietCare home sensing system. Home health is now a standalone business and a priority for General Electric Healthcare. It's still nascent, and enthusiasm for it isn't anonymous, but hospital clients have begun asking for home solutions to prevent readmittance. This past August, General Electric announced a joint venture with Intel to speed the progress of home health monitoring innovations. The innovator. While it was relegated to a support function at much of General Electric, marketing had been limited to passing information along to those centrally responsible for innovation, typically research and development or engineering. The marketers might, for instance, recognize a customer trend and communicate it to the product research and development department, or they might be called on to develop a creative advertising campaign for a new product. Other than that, marketing groups and CMOs had no consistently good grasp of how to shape the company's innovation agenda. We had to expand our thinking beyond product features and functionality to include pricing, delivery, customer engagement, complicated risk-reward sharing, and new business models, all part of commercial innovation. This was familiar territory for Lorraine Bolsinger, the president of systems of General Electric Aviation, who was its CMO when she led the business into the very light jet space. Think air taxis that carry 4 to 6 passengers to small regional airports. In 2004, the idea of air taxis seemed crazy to most people at General Electric Aviation. Why did the business need to be in that market when it was doing well in the large commercial and military space? Keep in mind that engine development cycles can last a decade or more. Commitment to a new space is a big commitment to the future. The idea of air taxis seemed crazy to most people at General Electric Aviation. Marketing showed why it wasn't. Bolsinger and her team nonetheless believed that this market was important to General Electric. The commercial airline industry had been steadily moving away from a hub-and-spoke system to a point-to-point system led by the boom in regional jets. Why not go even smaller? It was tough to get people to listen at first, but Bolsinger brought in entrepreneurial air taxi operators who were smart and sophisticated and could explain how their business model differed from the traditional jet model. General Electric's engine design expertise, greater than its competitors, could add significant value by lowering operating costs through burning less fuel and increasing asset utilization through better reliability and longer cycles, making the economics work for air taxi operators. More recently, the aviation marketers realized that their business was selling engines on the basis of thrust and other quantitative metrics, whereas it could be selling on the basis of operational efficiency and resource productivity. That research fed insight led, for example, to My Engines, which provides customers with real-time service updates for their aircraft engines, what repairs are required, how long they will take, how much they will cost, and so on. The information can be conveniently delivered to customers' smartphones or tablets. The inspiration for My Engines came from Tim Swartz, a marketing executive at General Electric Aviation, who thought of it as a Facebook for engines. He and his team introduced a pilot program to test applications with a small group of customers. The response was overwhelmingly positive, strengthening a business case that led to funding for full development. The application was commercially launched at the 2010 Farnborough International Air Show with an announcement that its first customer, LAN Airlines of Chile, had selected My Engines for its entire fleet of some 100 aircraft. Innovative marketers use unique marketplace insights to come up with products, services, or solutions based on untested ideas. P&G and other consumer-facing companies take that broad view of innovation, but it has been slow to develop at traditionally business-focused companies like General Electric. The more an idea deviates from the status quo, the greater the market opportunity, and, of course, the larger the personal risk to whoever is pushing the idea. Marketing leaders need not only the courage to pursue bold initiatives, but also the persistence and political skills to overcome naysayers. Before the business model and payback for My Engines were clear, Thomas Gentile recalls, we had to fight tooth and nail to get the resources we needed. The integrator. An integrator builds bridges across multiple organizational silos and functions to unite them on a single path. Sometimes he or she must act as a translator, making outside customer insights relevant and meaningful to those inside the organization. Marketing is uniquely positioned to do this, but when we began, the team was nowhere near being capable of that role. We realized that we would have to speak product language to research and development and customer language to the sales force, to unite customer-facing functions with the back of the organization and enable the company to cross-sell bundled products. In other cases, integration may simply mean bringing disparate groups in the organization together to collectively assess market dynamics. Consider General Electric Capital. Perhaps no other General Electric business has gone through as much upheaval in the past 2 years. Previously, General Electric Capital had been mostly a deal shop. We had abundant liquidity and would try to find every deal that was out there, recalls Lee Cooper, the Vice President and CMO of General Electric Capital Americas. But the global recession racked the industry in 2008. We were looking at our business shrinking from about $650 billion in assets down to about $450 billion, Cooper says.